All right, all right. This is Southern Brooklyn speaking here. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing well, doing well. How are you, Yuda?
I have a dear guest today. Adam Solis is chairman of the New York Young Republicans Club, Black Caucus. And we had a conversation 10 months ago, I checked. So many things changed since then. And I must say that I am amazed that we don't celebrate enough having our New York man in the White House.
I agree.
How's the feeling around you? What do you see?
Everyone is happy. Everyone feels accomplished. From the individuals that were, quintessential in accomplishing the feat to the constituents that attended the rally and got to see me speak on stage. Everyone's really happy with the outcome. They understand that, President Trump has been making decisions that are specifically for Americans. As much as there's a lot of rhetoric going around in the world concerning some of the things and how he feels about different individuals from out the country, one thing is for sure, he did as he promised, and he has been putting Americans first.
It's stunning to me, and of course, all this avalanche that we've experienced since January 20th, including I should say, an ascendance of Elon Musk to the Doge situation and the one that he created. And it's amazing. I keep repeating for second day in a row, they found 12 million people older than 140, but younger than 160 years old on social security rolls. They removed it, and that's something you wouldn't think about. This I don't know how things like this happen.
It's unfortunate, Europe, because that only means that when I decide to become, or when I get the opportunity to become 135 years old, I won't be eligible for Social Security, and that's very disappointing.
Yeah, it'll run out of money. It would run out of money much earlier. So let me tell us, please, how things are going at the Young Republicans Club, because this is one of the most powerful institutions of republicanism in the city. How are things with you guys, young guys?
Well, we're doing very well. We have a new president. His name is Stefano Forte. He's an
Hmm.
incredible leader. He's been, essential in garnering the support of the club, launching our member base now. I think we just reached 1776. So we
Wow.
actually have almost 1,800 members at this point right now. And we're doing great. The leadership, despite us, not having Gavin Wax as our president, we're still successful. We've still been making strides, and there's a lot of good races that and candidates that we look to support very soon, and lots of policies that we're going to be promoting and making available to the New York constituents.
We recently had on this channel, we had Ariel Rivera uh,
From the Bronx.
from the Bronx, yes, and he got very good reviews, or not reviews, but the comments from the viewers, and a lot of people enjoyed seeing him, and he's running against Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, our celebrity, and I still cannot get over her standing in the way of opening New York for business with Amazon. I mean, Amazon gets their way, one way or the other, and we see it though. But it would be much more um, useful for New Yorkers if they had businesses and people around this office that they planned in Astoria, Queens. They would be servicing, helping, renting to, cooking for, cleaning for, selling this and that too. So that would be like a boom there for the area. But she stood in the way, and now we are kind of in a spiral, I would say, business-wise, which doesn't bode well, I would say, if we don't get out of it. So business is key, of course. So what's your view on the current situation with the races in New York City?
Well, what I can say is currently there are some very interesting candidates on the ballot.
Hmm.
Some great individuals. I know there are some very interesting and powerful individuals that are running right now for New York City mayor. Um, I actually am going to have the privilege of working with one of those individuals very closely very soon. I can't disclose his name just yet, but when I do, I think once everyone gets an opportunity to check his acumen and his history and his work history, they'll understand why he may be a good choice for the city. As for the Bronx and AOC, you know, I find it interesting how the Democrats enjoy saying that there are not enough resources that are available to Bronxites and Bronx constituents. But when you have a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Amazon that is interested in bringing manufacturing and bringing those jobs into New York and into the Bronx, and someone like AOC denies them, it just goes to show you how hypocritical they are. Now, one of my dreams for New York City, and it's actually something that I'm going to accomplish very soon, is I want to turn the Bronx into the Silicon Bronx. I know I've said it before. I'm always going to, be working towards that initiative, but I do believe that we have the necessary educated individuals in the Bronx to make the Bronx and better yet New York City the technological epicenter of the world. Um, you know, we saw what happened with Silicon Valley when these big corporations started providing electrical vehicles and allowing people to put flags and peace signs all over their corporations and essentially curtailing to the woke ideology. Essentially, not much happened for the communities in those environments. But if companies like Amazon, Tesla, and these big corporations take a risk and invest their resources into the Bronx, it will be one of the best investments that I believe they've ever made in their lives. The Bronxites are very intelligent individuals. They're capable of utilizing technology, despite what Kathy Hochul believes. Young boys in the Bronx do know how to use computers, and they know how to use it very well. And I
Mhm.
do understand that we're at a very turbulent moment right now in the Bronx because there may be a lack of resources, but with the current administration that we have at the federal level, they're working hand in hand tirelessly every day to provide resources and make sure that the leadership in New York is being held accountable so that those resources are allocated to the communities that need it most.
Yeah, we kind of used to the fact that New York will be, as they say, a democratic playground for like forever. But people in New York are very different, and sometimes you can get to the hearts and minds of people by telling the truth. It may sound surprising, but when you tell people about the situation, like with your open mind and open heart, they may agree with you that change is needed, and that's the change that they're ready to work for, not something they're going to given to them by their overlords or what call them whatever, or the party leaders from Soviet Union previously. So I know this combination party leader. That's was something I grew up with for 36 almost years living there. So that needs exploring, and I'm afraid to say, but it would you could use some more investment from Republican Party, National Democrat, Republican National Committee, because we have people. We gotta reach out to them, and here in Southern Brooklyn, I am trying to, and I had a number of events based on my viewers. We have solid local viewership, and we have an event this Tuesday, 27th, where a friend, it will be in Russian, so I'm not kind of promoting it much, but it will be in Russian, and it's a friend of ours who's the U.S. Navy veteran, captain first class, who spent many months in the midst of Ukrainian war in Ukraine, because he's going to come and he'll talk about things that are going on there, and that's both pluses and minuses. What he's seen, he's there with his eyes open. He's fighting Putin. He's fighting for what he thinks is united. Not fighting. He's not. He's a veteran. He's not a young man. Uh,
Advocating.
but he's there to promote. He's a MAGA guy too, so that's something that would. So far, we are looks like we are selling out, and the people will are very. We're not selling tickets; it's free, of course, but it's going to be packed room.
That's great.
So you mentioned Gavin Wax, right? And what's his trajectory now? Where's he now?
Well, Gavin Wax was able to move forward, and now he's part of the leadership of the FCC. and he's been making some very good, significant differences in his role. I'm very proud of him. I'm honored to have such a leader that's able to transition into a great administration and add an immense amount of value. And we're very proud of him here at the New York Young Republicans.
Yeah, he's a great speaker, and he's a great strategist, and he was helming an organization that was really, I would say, peak years of the existence of New York Young Republicans Club, especially in such times as we have now, where the spirit of both sides is kind of boiling over, I would say, and especially the side that is protesting now in the universities, etc. They are committing terrible crimes, as they say, for their cause, which they basically cannot explain. And you're in proximity of the universities. And is there a certain position that and action that New York Young Republican Club is involved in?
Well, the New York Young Republicans will always support peace, freedom, and the truth. And those are all of the values that we espouse every single day. And if there is anyone who thinks that being violent, being aggressive, being disruptive, if they think that that is a productive way of conveying any sort of message, then they're completely wrong. The New York Young Republicans, we've always been a party of peace. Always been a party of free speech and freedom. But we have to make sure that we're working within the bounds of civility, right?
Sure.
If you step outside the bounds of civility, no one's going to respect anything that you have to say. And unfortunately, the individuals that are causing these disruptions at these college campuses, like Columbia and all these colleges, for some reason they're not interested in peace. They're not interested in having a consorted conversation, a peaceful conversation. They just want to disrupt, essentially cause damage and destroy property. And it's sad because if they actually wanted to have some sort of a discord, all they would have to do is sit down with the facts. But a lot of these individuals don't have facts, Euro. And that's unfortunate because they're essentially being bound by their cognitive dissonance, and they don't know how to express themselves properly. At the end of the day, if you look at the way President Trump organizes himself and he flies around the world and communicates with world leaders, he understands that even though he is one of the most powerful men, practically most powerful man in the world, the true testament of his strength is how he uses peace. Peace is the true testament of strength. It's the true resolve of real men. And there's nowhere in the world where anyone should ever be respected because they're entertaining war. And that is something that Donald Trump has been showing his constituents, Americans, and the entire world for a long time now. And I'm very interested to see exactly how Donald Trump is going to be able to advocate for a significant level of peace, world peace, to avoid any of these wars that are currently happening. I understand he's been in conversations with Putin. He's been in conversations with Netanyahu, with Iran. I'm actually very proud that he's able to sit down with these individuals that may not have been peaceful in prior administrations and sit down and come up with solutions, real solutions that are practical. And that's the issue. A lot of these individuals who like to get violent and protest, they're not practical individuals. They're, like I said before, they're bound by their cognitive dissonance. And unfortunately, unless they're educated properly and they have the opportunity to learn how to, express themselves in a positive way, they're not going to get anything. And that's what we're seeing here in New York City. But the main way that we can start, I guess, combating that narrative is through public safety. If these individuals think that being disruptive is worth disrupting public safety, then they're absolutely wrong. And I do believe that public safety should be a number one initiative in New York City so that we can return back to the pristine environment that we were once recognized in the world, right? People used to fly around the world just to stand in Times Square, not only because it was beautiful and it had some of the most amazing technological billboards, but because it was peaceful and it was safe.
Yeah.
And we need to return back to that. Instead of these students protesting, they should be in the classrooms learning. Instead of these professors protesting, they should be in the classrooms teaching.
These days it's good to be in New York. It's Fleet Week, and a lot of sailors, and people hug them, take pictures with them,
Oh,
and they loved all this talk about how U.S. military is hated. You can see the opposite. Even in New York, there's people who are loudmouth, and they try to humiliate our wonderful Navy and Army. They still look at them in awe, and you see the power and you see the stature of those men and women. So it's fantastic time, and we had this very unfortunate incident with the sailboat, with the ship that came from Mexico City and two cadets. It was unbelievable. I just cannot imagine who let them go there. They say that the tugboat kind of lost the course in a way, and they got disconnected, the cable disconnected too early or something like that. But the bridge is very very little clearance for such a tall ship. So that was something that was the beginning, but now it's all celebration, and I've seen a parade on Times Square with some sailors. And I don't know the kind of military that was there, but it was very nice, and it was a return of the times when you celebrate certain things in a very public and orderly way, which is something that we expect to be coming back. So, what's your prognosis? What we're going to be having for a mayor? I had an interview, by the way, with Jim Walden. He was
okay.
on my channel. We had an interview, and it went well, and we had very friendly talk beforehand. But after the talk, he decided to express his views regarding Donald Trump, and not on my channel. He was not very moderate, but outside of it, he said that he's going to have 50 lawyers hunting of fighting. On one hand, those lawyers will be fighting the White House, and on the other hand, they're going to fight Albany. So
Oh,
I say, are we under siege here? What's going to happen in New York? We don't live in peace with the state government, with the governor, and we fight the president.
okay. Well, the sad part is that the resources that New York necessarily needs right now are not being allocated the way they should. An individual like Jim Walden, with such I guess I would say, a good acumen, um, shouldn't be focused on hurting or challenging the federal government. If anything, they should be trying to make appointments for the White House, sit down, have productive conversations, and
As you
achieve,
said, peace is the word. Peace.
yes, achieving some meaningful discussions. And from what I know personally, the Trump administration is very open to listening to solutions. If anything, that is the number one qualification that you need to be able to have a conversation, is to be able to provide a viable solution that will benefit not only the economy but the constituents, right? And because they are the most important people in our country, our constituents are the most important, valuable resource in this country. Our constituents and our citizens. So if there aren't solutions that are going to reflect that, then we're wasting time. And he might be wasting time trying to bring this litigation against the federal government, but who knows? I know another individual who actually did sue the first the first Trump presidency, and was successful, but it was a meaningful success when he did decide to sue the presidency. His name is John Garland. He's actually my co-chairman of the New York Young
Hmm.
Republicans. Back when I believe the PPP loans were out and about,
Hmm.
they weren't
During the
available.
COVID era.
They weren't available to individuals who had records. So if you had a significant record, you weren't allowed to receive a PPP loan, which is essentially unconstitutional.
Hmm.
And John Gordon went ahead and sued the federal government. And then 11 days later, Trump changed the law to include that, to be able to include individuals who had come out of the penal system, to be able to
Hmm.
have the opportunity to receive that funding. And those are instances where, yes, there could be some new solutions and resources that can happen that will benefit the constituents. But I do hope that is the intention of Walden, because if not, then he's wasting time when he could have been utilizing those resources and all those lawyers to protect the constitutional rights of the New York Constitution, and that's the main goal. I do understand why maybe he might have Hochul in his crosshairs because she's been not essentially advocating for New York as much as she should. But I do think there are some very promising candidates that may be replacing Hochul in the near future.
We need this. We need this so much. And I know, and everybody in New York is, and outside of New York too, knows how it's absolutely necessary to replace Kathy Hochul, which was like holding us for fools or something like that.
Essentially,
Like we don't see anything. Listen,
like, can you imagine at least Stefanik becoming New York City, or excuse me, New York State governor? I think that might be a good.
we need her, and if she decides ever to come to my program, we will talk and we will see that the Russian-speaking residents would get the full message and understand what's going on, because the fog of election-related war, so to speak, right? A lot of people cannot think straight, cannot hear straight, cannot act straight. So we need to clear the air and let everybody know that we need to win all across the board. We need people all across the board to fill the positions and move on, because as who said that? James Madison said that we're gonna hang together or we'll hang separately. Because if we fail to do it during Trump era, and someone like a Republican, like a Democrat that we have today, like some acolyte of Chuck Schumer comes to power, then it would be a disgrace, first of all,
Essentially,
and then all the rest trouble.
I
But
can only imagine what would happen to the New York Constitution if an individual like that was to run for president. It could be horrible.
let me ask you, a lot of times people ask me, and I'm not privy to this information, but people ask me about the Giuliani family. Andrew, and of course Rudolph Giuliani, the man who's kind of, it's a disgrace to see what they try to make of him, how they try to diminish him, how they try to rub it into dirt, and how he stood strong and tall, and with his health being not as good from what I know. But how is he doing now in Trump's era, and if you know any information about him?
So I do communicate with Andrew from time to time. We do communicate, and from what I understand, the family is well. They're doing good. I know Andrew will be attending our summer soiree that we'll be having. It's an event that the New York Young Republicans clubs we're going to be having and holding in the Hudson River on the yacht, and yeah, it'll be great. So that so if anybody does want to be able to see how well Andrew is doing in family, they can attend. But I do understand that politicization of New York politics has gotten so severe and so weaponized that they took an individual who was actually able to make New York one of the safest places in the world, and they vilified him for it. And it's unfortunate because if you think about it, this is an individual who was able to accomplish one of the most difficult tasks in the world. And he did it successfully, and he did it for a very long time. And if there's anything that we can learn, is that public safety should be the number one initiative. And that is something that Rudy Giuliani was able he was able to implement in this city. A lot of people may not agree with his views, with the way he worked, but the ultimate outcome was a safe and clean city. And I think that's something that all New Yorkers deserve. And I think that Andrew follows suit. He's obviously very close with his father, so he's learned throughout the years, how to contribute to his society and his community. And I think that's something that we can look forward to seeing from both of those gentlemen.
It's amazing. And so you have a program there at the New York Young Republicans Club. And if somebody would like to introduce their kids or come there themselves, what's the requirement? What's the order of things to become a member?
So you just go to our website, nyyrc.com/join, and you can choose whatever membership that you have. we like to accept members that are from the ages of 21 and above. Um, we do have um, we do have some younger members in our club, but all members are welcome. Any constituent of New York is welcome to join, and it gives everyone an opportunity to be able to congregate in a good environment, to be able to discuss issues that they believe may be important. And who knows? You come to a New York Young Republican event, you sit down, you speak with a few individuals, and now you find yourself enamored by the environment, and now you want to get involved in New York City politics. And if anybody has ever paid attention to the way the New York Young Republicans operate, we actually get things done. So if that's the type of person that you are and the type of individual that you are, I would suggest you join the club.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such a charming place, like the spirit of old New York is it was New York Young Republicans Club.
Yeah.
There it's it's like you are in a real club situation that is nothing like what people have today. It's a contemporary and it's old timey and it's all things at once with wonderful events, wonderful speakers. And I would recommend people to sign up, and be there and see the wonderful speakers. My first time was there when Pamela Geller came to speak,
Wow.
and it was quite an event. It was her, such a tiny woman she was. I thought she's like a giant, and she's a tiny woman with such a strong voice and clear mind.
Yes.
It's amazing. So let me ask you before we finish. Let me ask you a personal question. I want to ask you about how's Adam Solis Jr. doing.
He's doing well. He's smart. He's a very smart young boy. He loves Spider-Man, and
Uh-huh.
and I love the fact that he loves. He always likes to throw his webs at me.
Wow.
So, so he's doing well. Thank you, and so is my other two daughters. They're doing well too. My eldest is in school, and the twins, which is Adam and his sister, they're doing very well as well.
Beautiful, beautiful, Adam. I'm so happy to see you here, and I'm glad that we had this conversation. Please come back. We need updates from the front lines, and we cover the waterfront.
Absolutely. Anytime, bro. You've got me.
Thank you.
All
All
right.
best.
Take care.